This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. How nice to be with you. It is so gorgeous here today. I hope it is wherever you are. Oh, boy. It's just beautiful.
It's a lovely fall day in this hemisphere.
Yeah.
Quadrant of the hemisphere.
Yeah. Let's get real specific. So what are we talking about today, Joan?
Well, today we're talking about how we are influenced by the collective heaviness. Now, we're not just dealing with our personal growth space. At our heightened sense of awareness that we have evolved to, we're tuning into what everyone else is bringing up to clear out as well. So stay tuned to listen how to not feed the field, but to hold your inner resonance amidst it all.
It's important, very important where we're at. So enjoy what we offer here. Join us at our show website at www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you'll find both Joan and I's website information, all these podcasts that we have into eternity and infinity, I guess, and then about our blogs. Both Joan and I write about what happens in our groups and in the world and what we're noticing around us. And she does that on Fridays. I do it on Mondays. And you'll find out about our meetups. Meet here in Portland, Oregon area. Joan in her Tacoma, Puget Sound area when she's in Puget Sound, and she's going to be traveling a bit here in the next month or so. And also about our sessions and how we work with clients and groups and webinars and I don't know, all kinds of different things. So you'll find also our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube links at that site. And Joan's going to tell you about our great listener offer we have posted there. What do we got for them?
So what happens when you go to our website is there will be a pop-up offering you our special gifts. And all you have to do is enter your email address so that we can send you our announcements and things like that. And you will receive special gifts from Janet and myself. And Janet's gifts are abundant. She tried to limit to 10. I think there's 27.
No, that was last time.
You down
to 13, I think.
Down to 13 from 7. And then mine is a special technique to help you with what is going on in the world today. So I have YouTube videos with trainings, and I'm sharing a special one for you. So go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, enter your email, and you'll get that. Now, you also mentioned the Twitter and Facebook and YouTube things, right? So,
right.
Because I also have a YouTube channel, but you can see those videos on our website. And then Janet has groups, and then I am going to be in New York. So if you are within the vicinity of New York City,
which is huge, by the way.
Which is huge. It's huge. But I don't know what borough that was from. But I can do a session for you in person in Manhattan. So send me an email, joan@joannewcomb.com, and we will arrange a mutually beneficial time to do that. Janet, tell us about your groups, because you've got meetups and you've got a special Zoom group going on.
So on Thursdays, I facilitate the Fuzzy Photons Playground groups, and those are at 10 a.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Pacific via Zoom video conferencing, which is a business platform for meetings, etc., that you can download to your favorite device of choice and join us in a group, live interactive, which is about as close as you can get to being here. You will feel it. And when I say you will feel it, you will feel the state of expansion that Joan and I are always sharing about, consciousness and how you connect in that and what happens in that magical state. So for all of you who are not in my physical neighborhood, you can join me that way. We have a great time. And you can contact me at janetb@janetandbeyond.com for the registration packet. It's sliding scale group fee. We meet weekly. So you will just get so much out of it. And the camaraderie and companionship and witnessing that you get with other like-minded people in that field with you. So it has lots to offer, and please consider doing that. So what are we going to talk about today, Joan?
He ain't heavy, he's my brother.
Oh, gosh. Well, there you go. That's the connection.
But, yes. So, well, you were noticing this in your groups last week, and I have noticed it in the world in general. But,
yes. Definitely.
You know, we're not only dealing with our stuff, which is ultimately when you feel like you're dealing with a lot of stuff, it's really you're bringing it up as consciousness to clear. Mm-hmm. And what is making it challenging is that we're experiencing the collective stuff as well. The collective stuff, yeah.
That's the power of it. Right? We're finally having these conversations, whether in our political arenas or whatever arena outside of us, that's allowing us to relate to it in new ways within ourselves so that we can maybe do something different with it, that information that we're all hiding. A lot of it's hiding. A lot of it is very active. So, we're not, we all do our work individually, right? It feels like that. But what you're noticing is the connectiveness between all of us and how there's a part of your story that I share in. There's a part of my story that you share in. And so we're busy being clearinghouses, basically, I guess, in all of this. And the toll that kind of takes, how you feel it and how you perceive it, experience it.
Yeah, I think we touched base on some of this last week in terms of, greater light coming into the world. Mm-hmm. So when you turn the lights on, it reveals where you haven't dusted. So we're all really having that kind of enlightening experience where things are coming out of the shadows for ourselves, but it's coming out big time collectively as well. And there is then a collective response to it. So, the clearest example I can think of is the Me Too movement, where people they have permission now to bring up things that have been buried for decades. Mm-hmm. And it's within the people who are bringing up to clear it, it's okay. It's encouraged even to talk about it. And it is such in the face and opposite of how it used to be, where it was belittled. Just don't mention it. Don't make waves. Don't be seen or heard or noticed.
Right. All those motivating factors that define us and limit us usually. Whenever you hit a definition, it's a limit. And we say, oh no, but it's real. And it's like, yes, it is, because you just made it real. And you can have another definition, and it doesn't have to limit you to other information. Now, when that construction is fluid and is permeable and still holds its integrity, is what I consider wholeness and health. In that, okay, this can expand, this can contract, and every time it does that, my definitions of myself, I'm experiencing differences in the world around me, and it's powerful. This is a very powerful time. So it's not a time to hold back. It's time to get out of your reactions. It's time to stop and go, okay, if this is what I think it is can it be something different? If this is not what I think of it is as, And can it be something different? I mean, it's just all the way we construct ourselves to be who we are and open the definitions up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to be talking more about this. We're going to hold you in suspense with some of the things we're going to talk about because we actually have to take a commercial break right now. So stay tuned because we'll be talking about consciousness and the collective heaviness when we come right back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And we are talking about consciousness and the collective heaviness.
We also need to maybe explore how people experience the heaviness, Joan. What comes to mind for you that you're, I mean, we all feel things differently, So when we say heaviness is that just the sheer numbers, that you feel resonation in, or how might you describe that?
Well, my experience is that when it's my own stuff, it's not so heavy.
Okay.
And it moves more easily. When I am dealing with somebody else's energy in my space, that's when it feels immovable. That's when it feels heavy, stuck. It's frustrating because the thing I've come to realize is that I'm actually not able to move it out of my space because I'm actually not sensing it within my space. It's within the collective space, or it's in that individual. That individual is emanating what they are feeling like, and then it feels even more stuck with mine. So that's just the dilemma of an empath, I think. But if we were just dealing with our own stuff, it would be as easy to release as blowing bubbles or taking a deep breath and, blowing it out kind of thing. But when we're trying to lift the collective heaviness, just imagine if you are, if you're trying to do a sit-up, or if you're trying to do a push-up. If push-up's a better image, I guess. If someone's lying on your back, it's going to be a lot harder to do a push-up. So when you're just lifting our own weight, that's one thing. But when we're lifting the collective weight, that's when it feels really super heavy.
Okay, so you're experiencing that more like a sense of weight.
Really, an emotional or physical weight.
Physical weight. Got it. And there are probably as many different ways to experience that collectiveness as well. What comes to mind for me is that things kind of slow down. There seems to be a lot of just this sense that, that everything's getting slower, that that there's contemplation, that there's stuckness on sticking itself. And these are hard to describe, and the words don't always serve us as well as we'd like them to, because your experience is containing so many variables and qualities to it. So I think what I find is that, okay, so I'm aware of this something, and what do I do about that? One thing I don't do is I don't go, it's not there, because that serves nothing. I think the way I am in my world and how I affect people knowingly, unknowingly, my rule set anymore is to just notice how I'm noticing what I think I'm feeling or seeing or perceiving, and how that's, after a while, it doesn't matter whether it's me or not me. It's just that I'm allowing it to be present and to acknowledge it in a certain way, but not in the sense that I have to do something with it. It's more in the sense of, the release I feel in just being able to observe it is what goes back into the field. Right? That ability to not be that attached, even if it's coming from an emotional resonance or these deep mind states of belief. I'm putting out into the field that I can recognize something and I choose how to interact with it. And for me, that's a healthier place to be with it. It doesn't clear all the symptoms that I might feel physically as an empath or something, but it's like, okay, I'm all right, which is basically what I've learned all along throughout all this time and space in mankind and consciousness. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it was. And that's actually a great point. Is it you're all right, we're all right. It's actually all good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Except that then people go, no, it's not. It's really, really bad. And it's like, no. The clearing part is good. And whatever is being brought up to be released, it's being brought up to be released. Now, there are people there who are still struggling with, wanting it to be in denial or being in denial, and,
or being in a hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's pain that's registering actively. So.
Yeah. Well, yes. And so bringing it to the surface to ultimately release, and it's we're actually in a very empowering time, and that's hard because if we have stayed in resistance, if we stayed in, we have been victimized. And so to release that is reclaiming your power from that. So, I can just even feel the energy, just even making that statement. The kind of empowerment I feel is I also feel rage. I am angry that it has been this way. I am angry that there's been, these lies perpetuated, or I had to keep my mouth shut for so long, just steam coming out of my ears. But that is actually all part of the clearing process as well. It's very empowering to claim and own and express your rage.
Well, and for a lot of people I know in what I've seen in group and with some people that I really respect and how they are in being present, a lot of experience. There's a lot of sensation, whether they feel electrocuted, whether they feel they can't move, whatever the thing is. And it's really, turns out that we have a challenge with balancing our inconsistencies with, how poorly we have a history of treating one another. And for those that are here enjoying a different awareness, that can take them by surprise sometimes. And humanity is everything. And that means it's loving, it's cruel, it's death-defying, it's life-taking. It's all those things. And, we like to have certain mindsets and rules about engaging with another. And when you're in the space that it's all consciousness, individuals sharing in that collective consciousness, and there are more of us than there ever have been at any time in the evolution of man, that you're going to feel that closeness. You may feel it as constriction. So, and listen to that, bells and whistles about it. Yeah, so I think that's part of it in coming into terms with awareness of what is so at potential possible actively and making changes. Boy, that ring-a-ding threw me off, so go for it, Joan. I don't know where she went. All right, so maybe I'll just continue talking. It's interesting how we can get thrown off, and that's active, real, lifetime, everyone. So hold in there. Just notice, take this moment to just notice how you feel. Give yourself time to notice how you're feeling in your beingness. And whatever time and space you're listening to this as live or as a podcast, what it is you're noticing in the moment of my voice and of the space. And let's just see what starts to show up. And is it important that it be someone else's experience that you're tracking, or is it that in the connectiveness that we are and being aware of the other, that can be a grace in itself? It doesn't have to be a burden. It doesn't have to be a pressure. We may feel those things in a physical way, pressure, we can feel that. But that, just go through it. Just allow your own self to just get bigger and get some space going. And that might be helpful.
That is helpful.
All right. There you go. Ha! We made the space for you. How lovely.
Yes. I appreciate that space. Yes.
You fit in the holes. Okay, back in.
Or something about that.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's part of the being bicoastal. So
yeah, right.
But I love it because what you did was you also you helped everybody else who's listening fill in the holes as well. Because, we talk about these things and it brings up a lot of stuff. So sometimes people can feel heavier and some people can feel a little bit more floaty. So, and it's all good. But, so more about that. Say more about that, Janet.
Okay. As we get your particles back together, they're going to be different. So just enjoy it.
Been beamed back onto the transporter and.
Yeah, really. Your corpuscle's a little south over there. So we'll just bring all the corpuscles back into some form that's cohesive and is enjoying itself. And this is our reality. Listeners, I hope it's your reality that things happen and you just go, oh, okay, pay attention, something's different, and not to be too thrown off by it, but enough to appreciate, oh, something different just happened, and I don't know the details, but let me get present again and check in. And as information is floating around and active over there's that lovely bicoastal that Joan was talking about, is that things are happening around us and things are happening at distance to us and everywhere in between that you can connect to. And it's going to have a matching resonance, or it's going to have a resonance that's out of sync. And when something's out of sync, it is a matching resonance, but it's in opposition. So you just have to go, oh, okay, that's what that is. And you just breathe and you just notice where the information is and how you relate to it and what it has maybe to offer you. And then after a while, it falls away. Lots of different ways to engage that collective. And I think it's important to break the collective up, which is what you just did, Joan. Yeah. That's what happened. The collective broke up. And so then we got, oh, There we go. Now we can show up. Yeah.
Well, the other thing I hear in what you're saying is, in breathing and bringing yourself present is it gets you out of resistance to that external energy that's not yours.
Yeah.
And we don't know that it's external energy. We don't know that it's not ours. We just know that it feels heavy, it feels uncomfortable, and then we resist it. And then we don't realize that, then we get stuck because what might just have been passing through suddenly has the consistency of tar, and I think about
focus. And once you give something the attention, there it is. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think about, hearing different people's stories and, the things that people are sharing now. And, and my story is different from their story, or I might have actually processed my story or my story, but when it brings up with their story, there's a matching. And then there's also a mismatch. And then that's where I can get stuck because suddenly I'm, 15 again, or suddenly I'm 2, 4, 11, or pick a number, and then, I'm not able to move or do anything when I'm not in the present moment, when I'm not in the oh no, I have worked and integrated this and I am in a different space now to hold this, or on the other hand, maybe maybe you forgot. It's like, oh my God, I completely forgot that summer at camp and this kind of thing. What do I do now? So, breathing, being in the present moment, all those things are really useful for staying present with your body because here's the thing. It's not you as consciousness experiencing the collective heaviness this way. It is your physical body and your energetic body and your body personality that's experiencing it this way because you as consciousness can encompass all of this and you're in this lovely, wonderful weightlessness because that's what consciousness is. So we're talking about ways to be able to not feed it because you'll be feeding it with your resistance, but how to hold your inner resonance.
I think a really important key part of anything that seems to be arising out of us again is that you are not the who it happened to. You are in a different relation to the information now, and that's power. That is, you don't have to be triggered into the wounded so much as just a minute. That happened a long time ago. And from this perspective, in who I've become, now when I look at that, what is different? That's the challenge with, the immediacy that happens when we get triggered into something, is that it's like it's active and it's alive and we lose that connection to ourselves. And it's almost like we have to reach out and pull ourselves out of whatever that war-torn experience was, or to grab onto something that doesn't register, that triggers you into awareness that you're in something, right? And, there are ways that I'm sure that we can set up ways to help ourselves in our experiences. And, whether it's listening to us and all the great information that's available now in different places, the world is not in a certain level the same as it was whatever happened, and it's how to coordinate all that into the now and where the story stops, because that's what being present is. The story stops for just that moment, and in that moment, the total freedom that's available to you to be into something else. And I think that's really the gift of being present.
And it's really deceptively simple.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's actually very easy. It's not you, the personality, that's doing the coordinating.
Right.
Or the organizing. It's the greater aspect of you that is doing the organizing. And you as consciousness does this effortlessly and easily. And so really it's just simple steps like breathing or stepping into this moment that you can do as to make the shift within your body.
It was interesting. Yesterday was my 64th birthday, everyone. You have no idea what an anniversary that is to me in my life, but take my word for it. And as I was standing there, we were at Powell's bookstore. Everybody go to Powell's. Wherever you are in the world, go to Powell's bookstore. They have great books.
All left their bodies now, and
yeah.
they're all spiritually in Powell's. It's very crowded there now, but
so
they can't pick up a book.
I was waiting in line to trade. They'll buy books. So I had books I was giving up. I'm waiting in line, my husband and I, for a half hour. As other people are trading in their books, and there was a book title, and I always love on my birthday to just see what I notice in wisdom that shows up and wherever it shows up. And this fun book was, I don't even remember the title, and I don't mean to do that to the author in any way, but he was talking about the underlying motivations and agendas that we all have into doing what we do. And one thing he was talking about that so struck me very strongly, because it was just a different aspect of an important topic that's been running, is that when he said that when in all the studies that they had done and everything, that when people are in fear, they vote conservatively. When people feel safe, they vote liberally. And I was very struck by that because that seemed very timely. And I went, okay.
Well, that just so explains the agenda, the fear-mongering, the extreme emotionalism that is put out, because it puts people into fear.
Right. And depending upon your level of awareness about things, we certainly have been talking about that and noticing that for the last couple of years. And this is why people step back, is because they are in their fear as opposed to their sense that they are safe, that they are okay. And as consciousness, those you realize are human qualities and judgments and aspects. And it's in accessing ourselves as consciousness where none of that discussion is being held, because you always know that it's just about being. It's about being something and feeling something. And that's where fear and safety and all those things come in. So you just relate differently to these emotions that are available to us. And I was just, and there were many other statements over the day that stuck in my mind, but I was like, wow, what a great awareness to have at 64 about the times that I've felt smaller because I was in a fear state about something, and the times when, wow, okay, I would have to say I'm a liberal, moderate. I'm many positions. See, we're not just one. We are in many positions. There's times when I'm conservative. There's times when I'm like, hell, whatever, and it's, so it was a great insight, awareness to just being me. And I share all that with all of you out there.
And you don't have to wait till you're 64. or if you're older than 64, you haven't missed the opportunity.
Really? Well, that's one thing, Joan. I know we experience people from all different places, and whether they're friends, clients, family, whatever it is, humanity. We experience them on the street, sharing, car space or whatever. And how many are in this questioning place, in a state of curiosity about themselves? I would say more people are these days than not. And it's just been these subverted conversations with oneself that have kept us small. And this is a great opportunity to get bigger than how you've defined ourselves. And I think I wrote about that this week. Monday, the blog I sent out on Monday, and about just being what we give up in order to consider ourselves safe. I think that was about it. So,
subverted conversations with ourselves. I think that's a great title for an autobiography.
You're right. That is a great title. I love it.
Mine's going to be belly flopping through life, but I have a completely different approach to things.
Yeah, I mean, everyone out there, what is your title for your book about you? Yeah, and enjoy it, whatever it is. I mean, see, that's the thing. I can appreciate your belly flopping. I can appreciate my subversive conversations because I know that they work for each of us, right? And that, I would have considered belly flopping through life, but that doesn't mean it's not what's happening. It's a delightful label to put on something. So what do we notice about the heaviness now?
Well, what I notice is the heaviness is in the process of breaking up, and but it is, the quality of it looks different to me. It is more sort of grayish and muddy like, as opposed to dense and black and hard or whatever it was before. So that's interesting.
It's very fascinating, this thing about permission, about giving ourselves permission to be. So permission to succeed, permission to fail, permission to think differently than I think, permission to hold myself accountable to something, and permission to not hold myself accountable. There's all these different myriads in the spectrum to be found about where we seem to elicit permission. I think that's interesting. You have to admit, and I guess that's it, the resignation that, okay, I did do this. And if that is in the old context of where that becomes permission or doing something out of order, it's in a certain mindset. If you do it from a space as consciousness, you appreciate that experience and where it brought you to, and how it might have been an opportunity for the next thing, right?
Well, and it's in the new mindset, it's not resignation, but it's acceptance.
Yes.
Yes, you're accepting the things.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, you're accepting what was done. Mm-hmm. You can change it by reframing it in your mind. You can take the judgment off of it, or you can accept what is, because unless you accept what is, you can't make changes to it either. Right. So you can't change your behavior unless you've accepted it.
Well, in the old concepts, you didn't have permission to do that.
Right.
So there's a harshness right there. There's a penalty to be paid. There's something that's will come at cost to you. And as opposed to, wow, that was an opportunity and you took it. Aren't you creative? Now, can you see what this brings you? And, there's just a different way of engaging it if you allow yourself to engage it that way. And we're the ultimate critic. We're the ultimate judge. We're in our world, it's us and how we've set that up. And in giving myself permission to make an error, if I'm going to think in terms of permission, it's just about being to me anymore. Hopefully, but not always, I can say with absolute certainty that I don't know my next moment. I don't know many of us who can, but many of us live that way. And so I was always one of those kids who colored inside the box and then I went beyond it. And that gave me a different appreciation than all those that just were so good about filling the box up, right? So how do we color our boxes in?
Right. Or I was the one who colored outside the box, but not in the box. So okay. I don't like that box. I'm going to draw on the margins.
Yeah, really.
I don't want to do a horse. I'm going to do a dinosaur.
Yes, exactly. Who cares what that is? What it did is it sparks our creativity, right? So it's like, oh, you see dinosaur, they see horse. Like, well, there's some similarities to that, I'm sure. If you drew a star, that might be something different. Who knows? But I think I enjoy this space, right? Because I know what's the things going on within people, and that it's needed, not so much for me, but for the individual who's in their experience. I'm not here to judge what your experience it is. I know what my experience is, and I'm even not to. I think that's mostly what I think it is. So what I feel it is. So that's subject to change too. So we offer this information, listeners, as a way to maybe just reorganize a little bit how you are in your world and in this collective.
Yeah, it's reorganizing, or it's both reorganizing, it's reframing, it's experiencing differently how we relate to the world, how we relate to heaviness. Because here's the other thing, is that you don't have to match that heaviness.
Right.
Right. It's and you're not politically incorrect if you don't match the heaviness. I wouldn't be laughing and singing while people are doing a march,
Right.
But unless it's the right song. But you're not dissing somebody else who's having discomfort.
Right.
And in fact, you being able to stand in your own light and have a different experience can be of healing and inspiration to people who are in the newness of the things coming up for them. You can hold a space that, of a direction for them to grow to.
Being a compassionate witness.
Yes.
To others and into the collective and into all these positions is such an incredible place to be in. And it brings different rewards, right? I'm not trying to save anybody, and I'm not trying to fix them, and I'm not trying to empower them not being able to enjoy life. What I'm there to do is serve, is to appreciate the wonder in the individual. And I recognize it. Do you recognize it? Do you feel it for yourself? And it's there. And I admire and I'm fascinated by the constructs that we all can organize to on our journey of that awareness, and how creative we are, and appreciate all those perspectives and all those viewpoints that I'm not crazy about on a personal level, but how I can appreciate in the spectrum of being, and where all that intersects within me and how I intersect with you. So I think that's what any of us are looking for.
Well, you said it, you used a very good word for that, is how creative we all are. Because from the perspective of consciousness, everything that goes on in this physical reality is an adventure in density and effort. And it is a creation of consciousness. And sometimes the most snarly, messed up road trips you're on is actually a gleeful experience to consciousness, because it's all about creativity. Yeah. So, things we interpret as difficult, painful, challenging, from the perspective of consciousness, it's like, ooh, this is fun. So, that's another way of stepping back or getting a bigger perspective, is to appreciate, I am so capable that I created a storyline that if, somebody else played this in a movie, Meryl Streep would get another Oscar for it.
Right. Right. And it's not that things don't happen. What it is, it's about what you do with it. And that's up to the individual. And I know people, who have issues in their body. I know people who have issues in their mind. I know people who have issues in being present. Everybody's got something. And it's the way we anchor into our humanity. And you can't, judging someone for how they choose to explore is really quite shallow. It has no place. It has, wow, how can I see your wonder and hold that for you while you go through this experience? And we have a friend who was at dinner with us last night who's on a cancer journey. And how to be helpful, not how to be sympathetic, not how to be, oh, you poor thing. That's not helpful. How to be present and acknowledging where she is on her path, and that it's all self-directed on the level where it's self-directed, and where it's coming across on the physical plane, where those intersect. What happens in that? And I think we are so quick to make judgments beyond what we need to be making a judgment about, because it's a habituated response. And you need to wholeness is about letting go when you're not healthy.
Well, those are some wonderful words to complete this segment with. We have to go for another commercial break. So stay tuned, because we'll be talking more about consciousness and the collective heaviness when we come right back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet, and we have been talking about consciousness and the collective heaviness.
And just before the break, I was noticing how things seem to be breaking up, and that the energy feels like it's breathing a little more. And how were you holding that awareness, Joan? Were you holding the same?
I had thought of something brilliant to say, and now I can't remember what it is.
So you're enjoying yourself, aren't you? Okay. Yeah. So everybody tune into Joan, and whatever she's enjoying, just enjoy it. Don't have to know it. Just enjoy yourself. That's what she's sharing with us.
Smoke a cigarette and bask in the afterglow of whatever. So, don't smoke a cigarette. Both my parents had lung cancer. Just don't smoke. So it was something about the heaviness breaking up. It was something about, I can't remember what it was. So it'll come back after we complete the show.
Well, yeah, always. It always does. It tantalizes. See, now what about life, people? Do you like to be tantalized? Do you like to be set up? Do you like to have anticipation at your core? I think that's a delightful way to handle all this is, because it makes you curious. That's your curiosity coming back, Joan. I love that. That's great.
You were talking about earlier about people who vote when they're in fear, they vote conservative, and when they're not in fear, they vote liberal. And for me, that's also a way of handling some of this energy that comes at you. Can you laugh at it?
Yeah.
Not take it seriously. When I was a clairvoyant student, one of the ways that we dealt with beings out of body before we knew how to do exorcisms is that you laugh at them, because they were, those scary ones were there they were trying to feed off that emotion. So a way to stymie that is to laugh at it. You have a certain amount of seniority when you can be amused in the situation.
Right.
So being able to laugh at it, to be lighthearted, to not be dragged down by the collective heaviness is also very useful.
And there's the laughing Buddha. For some reason, I'm seeing that image, and I'm not up on Buddhism, so I'll presume that there's a...
Yeah, he wasn't the real Buddha. He was a monk who was happy and joyful.
Okay, all right.
My husband told me that the other day at a Chinese restaurant. He's not the real Buddha. So...
Okay, destroy all my illusions. See, everybody, there you go.
We all get to have, we all are Buddha. We have the nature within us. So, you can be a happy, laughing Buddha if you want. At this time, I want to let people know that if you're enjoying these shows and you want to know more, visit us after the show at consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. You can listen to all our podcasts there. You can read Janet's blog and my blog. You can learn about our meetups, and you can also learn about our sessions. Janet does her sessions by Zoom and by Skype and by phone, and so do I, in the lovely comfort of our homes. If you're into Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, you can find our links to our show pages there. And you can also get our listener offer. So if you go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, you can enter your email to get our announcements, and we will send you a link to a page with gifts from Janet and me, special, wonderful gifts. Go there and find out what they are. You want to tell them about your groups, Janet?
Oh, okay. So Thursdays, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific time, I offer via Zoom video conferencing, which you can download to your favorite device, live interactive groups. So it's just like being here. I mean, it's as close as you can be there. You can feel stuff. And, if you want to fall over, you can fall over. And that's an inside joke if you've been here. In group. So contact me at Janet B at janetandbeyond.com for the registration packet. And it's sliding scale. It meets weekly. We have a wonderful time, and you'll connect with other people exploring life as consciousness too.
And I'm in New York for the month of October, maybe in November as well. So contact me if you're within easy distance of getting to Manhattan, or Forest Hills, come to think of it. But go ahead and contact me, and we can have an in-person session there. That will be a lot of fun.
It'll really put some wind up your shorts, that's for sure.
It really depends on the weather in October, but yes.
Really. Hopefully the hurricanes will be bye then. So, what do we want people to know, Joan, in this moment?
At this time, I do like to acknowledge that there is no time or space as consciousness. So regardless of when you're listening to this, you're actually contributing to, as well as engaging in, the morphic field of this show. And we appreciate your presence because you are helping to co-create this show. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think life can be experienced many different ways, and you can change those experiences. You can reorient yourself, and as you explore what you find within yourself, just rejoice that you have the ability to do that, and that will help a great deal. And so however you're connecting to the collective, we appreciate you in that and salute you. So years of good service, right? Wow. Lots of service.
And you've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And thank you all for joining us as consciousness expressing and evolving.
Bye, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you again.
Tune in next week, same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.